So my daughter marries this guy after I tell her not to. She lies and she pretends that he's a great guy and that everything's wonderful. And she goes ahead and gets married even though I told her not to do it. Sometime later, she comes to me and says she needs $5,000 to begin a divorce. I said, why? She said, well, I need to get away from this guy. I can't do this anymore. I got to get away. I said, I told you to do that a long time ago when it was free. I told you that you should marry a guy. Back then, you could have got away from him and it wouldn't have cost me a dime. Why do I have to pay $5,000 now? Because you didn't listen to me back then. She looks at me and she goes, well, Dad, I told you it was my life. It was my decision. I said, then it's your $5,000. I gave you advice. I was trying to save you some pain and me some money. You didn't listen. Give me 120 seconds. Let me finish my thought on my daughter and some other girls that get into a weird trap when it comes to divorce.
Welcome to Gen X Slices.
So my daughter tried to hide what an asshole this guy was. She pretended that he was this great person with this good job. He had wonderful friends. None of it was true. We saw right through it, but she did it anyway. Of course, when it comes time for the divorce, then she has to come to us and say, well, he's been a bad guy since day one, and I've suffered, and everything, he's mistreated me, and blah, blah, blah. The same story every woman always tells. My daughter told it too. Of course, now, when she has to come clean and tell us that the last several years of her life have been horrible, she has to tell, well, I lied to keep the family together. I lied in the hopes that it was going to work out. I lied to all of you to try to, I just needed everything to fit. It didn't work, so please give me money, help me get divorced. The bottom line with this is that now that it was time to get divorced, she needed my help. She needed my money to straighten out her life, even though my time and my advice wasn't good enough to straighten out her life before. Now all of a sudden I'm important again. So let me tell you something that I told my daughter. This will go out to my daughter and other girls that are in the same situation. We know when the guy isn't right. Okay, we know you're lying about who he is before you get married. We know you're lying the whole time that you're in this relationship. And then when you get married and have kids, we know this isn't going to work. We know the whole time. But what you girls don't realize is you've sort of trapped yourself when you do this and you don't even know it. As the divorce begins and you leave and you do all these things, there's stories come out every week about your ex. And he's just a terrible person, terrible friends, couldn't keep a job, spent money, drinking, drugs, abuse, whatever. There's all sorts of different variations and combinations. And you let all the stories out. Why? Well, you're trying to generate sympathy, right? You're trying to get us to go, oh my God, that was horrible. Yeah, let me get my checkbook out and let me solve this for you. That's why you do it. Now, I'm not saying you're making up the stories. Maybe some of them are true, but you sure don't have a problem telling all the truth now when you want something. And here's the trap. You tell all these stories about how you've suffered, how your children have suffered, about the abuses and the alcohol or the drugs or the womanizing or whatever you come up with, until somebody confronts you and said, what kind of a parent were you? What kind of a mother were you to allow this to happen? I mean, if all these atrocities are true, if all these stories are as bad as you say, and you never left, what kind of a parent are you? Then you get caught. Then you don't know what to say, because what you want to do is you want to try to paint this horrible picture as bad as it can be, but you don't want to make it so bad you look like you were a bad parent and you allowed yourself and your children to go through something horrible. You see, it's a real tough line that you have to get right to that edge where people will still believe you and they have sympathy, but they don't think you're a bad person, right? That's the real trick now, isn't it? So I reminded my daughter of something. I reminded her how in the beginning she said she was a big girl. It was her life. It was her choice. She didn't need to tell us a damn thing, and we needed to stay out of it. So do us all a favor. Be that same big girl right now. Go out there and get your divorce. It's your life. Do what you want. You don't have to tell us a damn thing, and I promise you, we'll stay out of it. Yeah. Kettle calling the pot black, shoe on the other foot, whatever. You guys get it. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.